AITAH for not allowing my parents to sleep in the same bed? I am not the original poster. That is you, responsible Winter 758. She posted in our AITAH. Mood spoiler. Happy ending. Less than. Original post. July 11th, 2023. I think you know where this is going, but there's no definitive answer on who's in the wrong. Also, for simplicity's sake I'll be saying parents, but it is my mother and stepfather. My mother and stepdad have been together since I was little. So, I'm a 25 years old woman with 2 older siblings. Both male. When we were growing up, we were never allowed girlfriends or boyfriends to spend the night, which I felt was fair enough. When my brothers got to about 16, however, their girlfriends were allowed to spend nights, but they had to sleep in the spare room. Again, fair. That makes sense to me. I was always somewhat of a tomboy, so, as you can imagine, teen boys didn't show much interest in me romantically. So I didn't get my first boyfriend until I was already 18. My parents wouldn't allow him to spend the night at all. Despite us both being over 18, I wouldn't have minded if my brothers had been held to that standard, but I felt as if they were favored over me. It isn't even because they disliked my boyfriend at the time either. Everyone seemed to love him. That relationship didn't last more than 6-ish months, so I dropped it after a while. I got with my now fiancé when I was 22 and we've been engaged for a year. We're getting married in only a few months. Still, just like every time before, my parents wouldn't allow him to spend the nights until a few months after we got engaged, after I brought it up to them. It wasn't a conflict, but they knew I was irritated and allowed him to start using the spare room. We moved in together not long after, so it didn't really matter. Now, I may be an asshole. My mother asked about wedding planning, the first time she even contacted me since the move, and I told her I still had a lot to sort out, but I was getting through it, and she practically insisted on coming up to me and having a week of mother-daughter bonding time, where she could help me with wedding planning. My fiancé isn't a very social person and is happy to be the moneybags behind my wedding decisions. He just likes to give little opinions, and I'm sure to include them when he does. My parents arrived and we spent the first day going out to dinner. I'd like to point out that the two aren't married and are steadfast that they won't be getting married again. Both of them divorced already. My stepdad twice. So, as the night was slowing down, they asked to be shown to their room. I directed my mother to one guest room and my stepfather to another. We have a 3-bedroom with no kids yet, so we have the space. My mother said that there was plenty of room in one for them both and instructed my stepdad to come in with her. I explained that, just like she told me, it was my house and I didn't want them sharing a bed in my house. I basically repeated word for word what she would tell me when I'd complain about my brothers getting better treatment than me when it came to their partner. I told her that actually, they were in the same position I was in because neither of us were married. She tried saying it was different because they had been together for almost 20 years. I told them that it didn't matter because this is my house and my decision is final. Just like how my mother would shut down any discussions about it back then. I was sure to mention how my brothers were allowed their partners and I wasn't, but she claimed I was making it up. They stayed the night and left for home the next day, which I preferred because I was happy wedding planning on my own. And I haven't heard from them since. My grandmother has called to tell me off for it though, so I'm wondering if I am in the wrong. AITAH? Edit. Same post. July 12th. Next day. Edit. A lot of people are confused. At my mother's house, we were not allowed to ever sleep in the same bed. Ever. Only months after we got engaged did my mother allow him to sleep in the spare room. Also, I said I don't mind the rules they have. It's their home, but it was the double standard for me. I had to wait until 25 to have my fiancé stay at my house when my brothers could have whoever they wanted from 16. We were engaged by the time they let him. I was no longer a child, and it's not like I've been holding on to resentment for years after it stopped, as some misguided people claim. It was months ago it ended. Also, my intention was never to make them sleep the whole week separately. It was initially a, now the power is in my hands. Do you see the error of your ways? If they did, we could have moved on and laughed about it. And they would have slept in the same bed. Because they didn't and doubled down and started getting aggressive with me. Claiming I was making things up, I stuck to it. I know I am being assholey. But am I the asshole in the situation I'm in? Relevant comments. Are your brothers your full brothers or half brothers? No, my brothers are my whole blood brothers. Our parents started divorcing before I was born. It's in the past, grow up. What do you mean, that's in the past? It was months ago, not years. You're being petty. They've been together 25 years and have had sex. They presumably just didn't want you or your brothers to have sex as teens. Way to miss the point of the whole post. I never disagreed with the teen rule. What I disagreed with was the sexism and that I had to wait until I was engaged at 25 to even have him sleep in the spare room. They could be common law married. Also, you could have just offered it as a joke. I'm in the UK. We don't have that. Also, I was more than hoping and even intended for it to be joke. I was hoping my mother would see her hypocrisy and we could laugh about it. I didn't intend on actually making them sleep separately. Only when she turned on me and got aggressive with me did I stick to my guns. If they were helping you out, and it's their house, then they're allowed to have rules. Especially if they were supporting you financially. So I got engaged to my fiancé last year while living with my parents. They were in no way responsible for me financially in any way, shape, or form. I paid rent, bills, and bought my own food. They didn't pay for anything. A few months, 2-ish, after getting engaged, we had an argument that he still wasn't able to stay at the house. She caved and allowed him to sleep in the spare room. This was the last straw, and I started looking for a house to buy. I then bought my house outright, though it wasn't as big as I was saving for, and moved into it with my fiancé. Since I wasn't charging him rent or utilities, he wanted to pay for the wedding on his own. I'm from the UK. It's extremely rare for parents to financially support their adult children here. Just be the bigger person. Did you ever talk to them calmly? I chose to be the bigger person for 7 years, trying to voice my opinion, and was shut down every time. In my opinion, I needed to show them because they would not listen. And then they called me a liar and that I was making it all up. Surely, as parents, that was their opportunity to be the bigger person and admit wrongdoing. And just one more time to reiterate, Oop had to sue many times in her comments. Oh, they never let him sleep in the room with me. Ever. Only after we were engaged did they let him sleep in the spare room. I say as much in my post. There is no consensus bot on AITAH, but top comments were NTA. Update post. February 28, 2024. 7.5 months later. So, it's been a while and my post blew up. I even saw it on Facebook, which is crazy. So, the update. After I let the dust settle, I contacted my brothers and asked for their perception, and they mostly agreed with me. They said exactly what I said, that their girlfriends were staying in their beds at 18. Let alone not even allowed to sleep in the house at 22. They mentioned that our parents only mentioned our disagreement once to them in passing when they got home, but once my oldest brother reminded them that it was true that they were allowed partners over as teens. They never brought it up again. It took a couple weeks, but my mother called me to talk. At first she maintained that it was probably only a few times they were allowed girlfriends to sleep over, but I was quick to shut it down. Everything she said I had an answer for. I admit, stress from wedding planning was taking a toll on my self-control. It ended with my mother admitting that she must have forgotten it all, so I just left it. A win is a win. She asked if we could put it all behind us, and I said as soon as she apologized then we could. She said that she understands how it may have came across as sexist and favoritism, but she didn't mean it to. They were just overly protective of me being their only girl and didn't realize how that would come across to me. It may not seem like much from my mother. That's as good as a bunch of flowers and a please forgive me card. So, the wedding went off without a hitch in November and everyone had a whale of a time. It was nothing short of magical and I had all my family there with me. Couldn't have asked for anything more. So, to everyone saying how my parents were never going to talk to me again and that I was prioritizing petty revenge over a relationship with my parents. Please touch grass. If something so small would separate you from your family, that says more about you and your family than it does about me and mine. We all have faults. But come on. Bit dramatic. There are a lot of people calling me a justified asshole, which I kind of get, and a lot saying I'm not the asshole. The ones convinced I'm being a hell spawn on earth just make me laugh. People talking about how I have no respect. I respect your opinion, but I vehemently disagree with it. To me, I was just showing the same respect I was given. Thank you everyone that was invested. I really needed the validation that I'd done the right thing when my mind was all fuzzy and clouded from stress. General consensus is that I wasn't an asshole. But I was petty. Whether you love the pettiness or not. And I can get behind that. Not the most drama-filled update, but I wanted to put a close on all this. Thank you all. Relevant comments. Have you stayed over at their place since? What were the sleeping arrangements? We stayed over for Christmas. In the same bed, fearful face. And obviously they'll be allowed to sleep together next time they visit. I wasn't planning on sticking to separating them in my original post, but she pushed my buttons. Tears of joy. Does it irritate anyone else the mom had to confirm with the brothers Ann's wouldn't take Oop's word? Can't believe people were telling her to apologize. She did what every one of us with strict or overbearing parents have dreamed of doing. I applaud her. I know I posted on the original post how great it was to toss the comment, "My house. My rules" to Mill and Phil. Hubby said the same thing. His siblings were shocked we wouldn't let Phil smoke in our home. They just would give him an ashtray at their homes. Smoking is outdoor only here. And hell, I was a smoker too. Phil died of lung cancer and would take off the oxygen and smoke a cig. He smoked like 4 packs a day and their home always smelled like smoke. So it's not sexism, but it was sort of sexism? Gotta protect the little girl. But not other people's little girls, I guess? To clarify, I'm being sarcastic. I just agree with Oop that it's a double standard and parents like to gaslight to cover such things up. Happened all the time with my brother, who was the youngest and only son, versus my sister and I. Definitely petty of OPP. But a justified petty and got her point across, I'd say. I was ready to laugh, but Redditors, once again, proved themselves as the drama queens they are. Why? If something so small would separate you from your family, that says more about you and your family than it does about me and mine. Oop said this so beautifully. It's not sexism because describes sexism. What matters is Oop is happy with the outcome and the family is still close. That's a win. Petty AF, but I support her $100%. I love it. My husband did this to his mom and her partner the first time that they stayed over, when he had bought his first home. I'm proud of her for following through with it. Good on Oop for standing her ground. Parents who give siblings different standards suck so bad. I was kicked out at 18 for staying out one night. I had rang and let my mum know where I was, and my nana lived 5 houses away. But my brothers at the same age would not call and didn't get kicked out. SMDH. I am always amazed by how many people don't realize you have to train your parents. You have to make boundaries with them. Hold the line. Develop your independence. It doesn't just magically happen in many cases. It is embarrassing how many full-grown adults with their own families, homes, careers, play pretend for their parents still. Did I just read a normal, logical and reasonable BORU post with no insane drama? I want my money back. Jokes aside, I'm glad that things are normal and everything turned out fine. This sounds like a combo of petty revenge and malicious compliance, and I am here for it. Best thing to do with parents who want you to do as they say, not as they do. NTA. I will never understand this kind of mindset. Like, we wanted to protect you more because you're a girl, aka, we don't want you having sex because you're a girl, but it's fine if your brothers have it, because if it goes bad it won't be our problem. You know they will have sex anyway. The only thing parents achieve by stopping their adult daughters from having sex in the house is that they're gonna have sex in unsafe spaces. Like in the car, like I used to do when I was 18 and not allowed to have my BF over. You're just making it more difficult for your daughters to have sex in a safe, comfortable environment. I am not sexist, but this is so clearly sexism it's funny. Overprotective? Fuck right off. Then why didn't they allow her to sleep in the same bed as her fiancé before? Why not separate beds with her BFS? They just didn't want her to be touched and enjoy it and stuff because she is a woman. So it is sexist. Also, it is just blatant sexism. I don't know what else to say. It is not something that could come across as sexism. It just is sexism. Sexism. Bought a house outright at the age of 25 without support from parents in the UK within the last 25 years, having been paying rent and supporting themselves fully after the age of 18. I must admit that I am skeptical of this being the truth. I applaud OP for this. Been in a similar situation where my partner of 10 years was made to sleep in the spare room when he visited my family. Meanwhile, when I visit his family, we sleep in the same room every time. I mean, come on, Mom. I've been with the same dude for 10 years. I do wonder if my mom would do the same thing to my brother or not. He's in his 20s and just comfortably single. Then again, she kinda coddles him more than me. Op throwing her mom's words back in her face is cathartic. The PETTY in this is truly iconic. Absolutely ripper work there, Op. Kudos, clinking wine glass with air. Absolutely brilliant move by Oop. She said that she understands how it may have came across as sexist and favoritism, but she didn't mean it to. They were just overly protective of me being their only girl. Yes, this is casual sexism. Believing that your daughter cannot make decisions for herself because she's a girl is sexism.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AITAH is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.